Greetings, console commanders, and welcome to Elite Dangerous on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I am Commander Cylon, and I'm going to help you get started in Elite Dangerous and run you through the basics. Little caveat to that, at the time of this recording, the PlayStation 4 version of Elite Dangerous is not out yet. It is due out in about 2 weeks from now. However, there's not a whole lot of difference between the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 versions, except for some minor control differences. Like one thing confirmed is that the PlayStation 4 version will have 6-axis control. There's also going to be some form of how-tos control with hands-on throttle and stick. However, the extent of that has not been confirmed, and nor has the extent of the touchpad functionality confirmed yet. But once the PlayStation 4 version of the game comes out, I will make a separate video about all the PlayStation 4 specifics. But for the most part, the game mechanics are the same between the two consoles. Anyway, what is Elite Dangerous? Elite Dangerous is a space pilots game that takes place in the year 3303, where we're able to travel the stars and do combat, mining, trading, exploration, and all that other stuff all throughout the Milky Way galaxy. This is the main menu screen. This is going to be the first thing that you're going to see when you boot up the game. Training, it's used to be called tutorials, now it's called training. It's not not necessary to go through these. However, it is highly recommended. That way you can get a feel for the controls of the ship and get more used to it before going out into open space, because getting stuck at a station can be deadly, and I will touch base on that a little bit later. Start, that's where you start and open up your game. Friends and private groups, this is where you see all your friends and any private groups that you are associated with. If you are associated with a private group, you'll have options in the start menu to join just those private groups, open or solo. I'll get to that here in a minute. Buy extra games or game extras. That is like paint packs, ship kits, like body kit attachments, decals, items for your commander's uniform and stuff like that. View achievements, that's self-explanatory, options, credits, and all that other stuff. Here we'll go through the options real fast, and I'll show you the controller layout. This is the default controller layout for Elite Dangerous. However, I will touch base more on this here in a little bit. Alright, let's get started. Yeah, this is what you'll see when you hit the start button. Open play, that means you can run into absolutely anybody, any other player that happens to be in the same system as you. You'll be able to see them. They'll be able to see you. You can talk with them. You can fight them if you wish. It's basically an open PvE, PvP type of area. Private groups is kind of like open, but with selected people involved. Like, only the people in the private group will be able to see you, and you'll only be able to see them. Solo play is just you and all the NPCs. You will not run into any other players in solo. In Arena is CQC Arena, that is a 6v6 mode of just combat in small ships. So let's get started. We're going to go on the solo play to make things easier. Once you start up the game, you'll see this screen. If you have the Horizons DLC, you'll have this option here. This will loan you a Sidewinder ship, that's what you see in the middle, along with an SRV hangar for traversing planetary surfaces. If you do not have the Horizons DLC, you'll have just new commander here. You will start off with a Sidewinder, but no vehicle hangar, as the Horizons DLC is required to land on planetary surfaces. The Sidewinder is the starter ship. It's pretty maneuverable, but it is pretty weak everywhere else. Also, if you see down there at the bottom left, you'll see what packages you'll get with your ship. You'll get the stock Sidewinder here. You'll end up in a random federal system, and I'll get to the factions here in just a second. And some money, but not a lot. With the Horizon Sidewinder, you'll get a 2-ton cargo hold and a vehicle bay equipped with an SRV and a planetary approach suite. You'll end up starting at Acellus Primus, and you'll get 1,000 credits. There's not much difference between starting with either or. Just that one, with the new commander, you'll start in a starport, and the Horizon Sidewinder, you'll start on a planetary surface. So we're going to start with the Horizon Sidewinder because there's a lot more mechanics to it as far as flying and getting started than there is with the new commander. Plus, everything the new commander can do is already included in the Horizon Sidewinder. However, like I said, if you do not have Horizons, then you cannot land on planetary surfaces. So we're going to start off with the Horizon Sidewinder. We have 1,000 credits. We're going to start at Acellus Primus with an SRV and a 2-ton cargo hold. All right, let's get started. Oh, we can name our ship. We're going to go ahead and let's name it Newbie 1. There we go. I like that. All right, we are here at Baker's Prospect in the Acellus Primus system. We're in our starter ship. To look around, by the way, like I'm doing it here, you just push in on the right joystick. And then push in again to lock your view. Let me run you through the HUD real fast. Right there in front of you with the menu options moving up and down. That's what you'll see when you are landed at a starport or any sort of planetary base or anything like that. Once you are docked, you'll have this menu. When you are not docked and you are flying, you'll have a radar system in front of you right there. As for the options to Starport services, return to the surface and launch. I will get more into the Starport services in just a second. To the right of that is your ship's status. You have the blue rings around it, that's your shield, along with your hull strength down below in a percentage. You have 3 blue rings there for your shield. As your shield takes damage, those blue rings will go away. They'll turn red. And once they all turn red, you'll lose your shields, and you have a set amount of time before they begin to recharge. And it takes them a little while to recharge. At that point, your hull can be damaged. To the right of that is your pip system. Each of those little squares underneath the bars are called pips. You have 6 pips to work with. To the left is systems that strengthens your ship's shields. So if you want to put all your pips into systems to strengthen your shields, that's how you do it. But you'll be sacrificing power to the engines and weapons. And the same thing goes for engines and weapons. If you want more power to your engines, you put more pips into that, and you will have faster engines, faster thrusters. You'll be able to go faster. And as for weapons, you'll be able to have not so much more powerful weapons, but your weapons will be able to last longer. In continuous fire, whether it be energy weapons or whatnot. So that's your pip system. To the right of that, on the far right, is your fuel system, along with mass lock, landing gear, and cargo scoop. I can explain the bottom 3 here in just a second. But as for your fuel, and your signature, sound signature, there at the top, but that really doesn't play a part in this game. Your fuel, there are the dashed blocks and a thin line above it. The thin line above it is your super cruise and regular space fuel. That's for when you're flying within a system or just in regular space. That's the fuel that's going to be used. Below that, the dashed lines or dashed blocks, that is your hyperspace fuel. That is the fuel that is used when you're jumping from one system, star system, to another. When you have bigger fuel tanks, those dash blocks will become a solid, thick line. Word of note, the thin line for your super cruise and regular space fuel does take away from your hyperspace fuel. So keep an eye on that when you're flying. You do not want to run out of fuel. If you run out of fuel, your ship will shut down and your life support will kick in. Your life support does not last very long. It's about 5 minutes, I think, for the stock one. Once that's gone, your ship will blow up and you'll die. To the left of the main menu, that is pretty much kind of where you are. That big ball there, or circle, it's a ball. It says that we're on a planetary surface, so it'll show the planet. If you have something else selected, like another ship, that'll show up there. If you have a starport or a base selected, that'll show up there as a diagram, and I can show you more of that in just a moment. Oh, on the other side, mass locked, landing gear, and cargo scoop. Cargo scoop and landing gear are self-explanatory. When they are deployed, they turn blue. When they are not deployed, they turn orange. Mass locked. Mass locked is when you are near something extremely large, like a planet or a starport or something like that. It just means that you are unable to jump to supercruise or hyperspace until you get far enough away from them to where they are no longer locking you. To the left there of the planet, it shows what system that you are in and the current faction that is in control of it, and the base that you are at or the system that you are at. To this screen, this is your navigation and contact screen. This will show you the system that you are in with the stars and planets, bases, other objects like nav beacons. That's an outpost right there. That's a planetary base. Conflict zones, that's where a lot of ships are fighting. Nav beacons, all the stars in the bubble, which is human occupied space, have nav beacons. It's to help the ships locate the star and where to jump to. So this little starry icon, that's the main star of the system. And then it shows all the planetary bodies, bases, outposts, and whatnot, according to how far away they are. So the star, which will always be at the top, is 338 light seconds away. Acellus 2 technically is where we're at right now, but it's saying that it's 5.32 megameters away. That, I guess that is the center of the planet. Baker's Prospect, that's where we're at right now. That's why it says 565 meters, because that's pretty much from the center of the base. And there is a conflict zone 13.2 megameters away. Megameter is 1,000 kilometers, just so you are aware. Nav beacon is 344 light seconds away. The nav beacons are always near the main system star. It sits just outside of it, because if you get too close, then you're gonna burn up. But I'll get to more of that later. And then the rest of the systems, that's the first planet, that's the second planet. That's why there's 1, 2. There's the third planet in the system, 3. And then for its moons, it'll be 3A, 3B, 3C, and so on. This system also has another star, Acellus Primus B, and it is 0.19 light years away. That is really, really far away. But it's still within this system. So there's that, along with, there's some other things in here. That's the other systems that I can jump to with my jump range. And I will talk about jump range in just a moment. The other options here, you can use to look at the galaxy map and the system map. Let's check the system map real fast for Acellus Primus. This will show you the map of the system in which you are currently in. There's the main star. There's the other star right there. And it shows you a bunch of information there on the left. The factions. If you have an object selected like that, see, it'll show you the object's information, like the planet's gravity on that planet, ring size, etc. for those other ones. For stations, it'll show you what the station is capable of supporting, what is not allowed, stuff like that. As for the next tab, local bookmarks, it's any bookmarks that you personally place, and you can do that right there. The plus sign right there on the right side where the menu is. That's the select. That's to plan a route. You can't do that when you're in a system because you're already there. And that's the planetary map. And see, if you select a planet, then you'll get the planetary map. To zoom in and out, it's left and right trigger. And then the last tab, it shows all the starports and bases in that system. Now for the galaxy map. This is pretty cool. Here is the galaxy map, all the stars in the Milky Way. This galaxy has 400 billion star systems. Each of those little dots is a star system. They're different colors based on what type of star they are. And I'm just going to show you how many there are. So I'm going to zoom out slowly. Yeah, see? We're still in the bubble here. All those dots. Everywhere you see, right here, you can go. In this shot, there are 400 billion stars that you can go and visit whenever you want. You just have to travel there. See? All these stars you can go to. And it gets a little bit more dense as you go towards the core. See? The center of the galaxy, right there, Sagittarius A, is roughly about 25,000 light years away. And it does take quite a bit to get to it. The width of the galaxy is roughly 65,000 light years. It is a near 1-to-1 scale of our actual Milky Way. And all the places that you see here are actual places. There are nebula. The Coalsack Nebula is there. One of my favorite places is the Pleiades. It's down, it's around here somewhere. There it is, the Pleiades Nebula. Whoop. All the nebula that we are aware of scientifically in real life are here. Now, every system isn't verbatim, realistic. This particular system right here, we don't know exactly what's there. I mean, NASA doesn't know, but it's generated by a system called Stellar Forge to the best of what it thinks should be based on its location, size, and all that stuff. And it's actually been relatively accurate with its estimation. Stellar Forge is actually very, very good. But this is where we currently are at. Now let me go through the menu options for the galaxy map. On the left there you see some very vague system information. Next tab is to plot a route. You can type in the system name if you know it right there in that box, and you can hit that little square to the right of it. You can choose different types of routes. Economical routes are very, very short routes. They try to take the shortest route possible between each star. It's going to be a lot more jumps, but it can help save you on fuel. Fastest route will take your jump range into account to its maximum ability to get you to your destination in the fewest amount of jumps. However, that uses a lot more fuel. FSD boost is when you have a jump range boost applied, and then it's able to plot a route that way. I'll get to more of that a little later on when we talk about FSD boosts. This right here, the cargo mass, this is if you have cargo on board. Now I only have space for 2. It'll actually, if you don't have any cargo on board, but you want to find out how, be able to plot a route with your cargo, kind of like fake cargo, you can set this and then it'll take that into account as well when you're plotting your route. For bookmarks, these are any personal bookmarks that you set. You can place a bookmark on systems, planets, stations, etc. This helps get into certain places and plotting a route a lot faster. The filters tab. There's a lot of stuff in here. Let me show you this realistic here. This shows the stars if, as a realistic sense. Not a whole lot of filter play there. As for maps, it changes the stars to dots. And Down here with star class selected in this drop down menu, it'll show you the types of stars that are out there, and you can filter based on which ones you want to see and which ones you don't. O, B, A, F, G, K, L, or M. These ones right here that are all selected, those are the stars that you can scoop fuel from. That's how you take the super long trips. There is a module called a fuel scoop, and if you get close enough to the star, you can actually sip fuel from it to refill your fuel tanks. These other stars right here, anything below that, are not scoopable. And if you select all of them, they'll actually show up on your map. If you deselect them, they'll disappear. That's so you don't have to select or weed through any stars that you don't want to see. The reason why I have these ones down here selected is that they're rarer and a lot more interesting to see. Wolf-Rayet stars are incredible, absolutely beautiful. White dwarfs are really, really cool. And non-sequence stars, those are neutron stars and black holes. Apply filter to route. Now, say you plot a route to some far-off star system, but you only want it to pick what you have filtered here, then it can do that. I like to have that selected. And then these are more filter options based on trade routes. And as far as the other options here, you can actually change the stars based on what their allegiances are. The three major factions, the Federation, the Empire, the Alliance, and then there's independents that are not a part of a faction. You can filter through those. Governments, there's all types of different governments: anarchy, colony, democracy, imperial, patronage, cooperatives. If you are searching for a very particular type of economy that you are going to, say you've got trade routes, or you're looking to shoot some NPCs without getting fines or any beef with the system police, then you want to go to anarchy systems. Economies, same thing. That's for trade. If you want to look for certain types of trade items, then they'll only be in certain types of economies. The states. This is kind of like background simulation states. This is like if they're in a state of war, a state of lockdown. These two can be pretty rough, as station services can be unavailable in these areas, especially if it's a lockdown. That means you're not able to get refueled, you're not able to pick up missions, buy trade, stuff like that. State of war, which means that there are two factions going at it. Boom, expansion, those are really, really good. Lot of traffic in and out of there. Outbreak, there's actually outbreak and famine. There's not a whole lot of traffic in and out of those systems. Election investments, those really don't have a whole lot to do with each other. And we'll go to the next one. Security. Like I said, if you want to go through certain types of space, say if you're a trader and you want to stick with high security areas, that way they kind of help prevent you from getting targeted by pirates, then you want to stick with the higher mediums. If you want to be a little bit more lawless or a bit of a criminal but don't want to get in trouble, then you want to go into these areas. Visited stars, those are all the stars that you've been to. It'll actually mark them out in a bunch of little blue dots. Local cartographic data, that's all the systems that you have nearby that you have the data for. The system data, where it shows all the planets and stuff. There's a lot of systems, like you see all those dots disappear. That's because you don't know what's there. There are people inhabiting those systems, but you don't have any information on it. Trade data shop, same thing, but for trade. And that's it. I like to keep it on star class myself. Just makes it easier. And then here, when I talk about the bubble, this is the bubble. It's about 100 light years across, give or take. And it shows all the major factions along with the different types of powers. There's Aileen Duvall. She's an Imperial leader. Edmund McMahon. I think he's independent. And then there's some Federation folks in here, stuff like that. You can see their headquarters, which this particular power is their headquarters there in Cubio. And then there's some other options here. I don't really use too much, but if you're into power play or want to get into power play, then that's what you're going to go through right there. All right, let's get back to our ship. Transactions. This is where you have open missions or open bounties that you have to yet to claim, and any fines that you have against you will show up here. And then contacts. This will show you all the ships in your local area, whether they be player flown or NPC flown. There's a Federal drop ship, a hauler, and a sidewinder, along with high and low wakes. High energy wakes are hyperspace jumps from one system to another, and low energy wakes are jumps from normal space to supercruise. All right, on this side of your cockpit, it shows your status. There's your name up there on the top left, along with your combat, trade, and exploration ranks. Below that is how much money you have, what the rebuy cost of your ship is, but this is a loaner ship, so there isn't a rebuy cost. Any local bounties that you have against you, say if you've committed some crimes, then that's where that would go. And your local reputation, being that you're just starting out, then it's neutral. To the right of that, it shows your reputation with three major superpowers, the Federation, the Empire, and the Alliance, along with your rank with those folks. The Alliance do not have rank, so it's just their reputation with them. Below that is your status with the different factions within the star system that you're currently in. They have minor factions in most of the star systems within human inhabited space. And that's where all those guys are. When we hit right on the D-pad, you'll see the system status. That's the status of those minor factions. We've got one that's in war. Looks like they're probably at war with those guys. Those guys are in boom. There's none there. This is your finance tab. This shows your current balance and your ship insurance. When your ship blows up, say when you buy your own ship, your ship insurance will cover 95% of it, but you will have to fork over the other part, the remainder 5%. Word of warning: do not fly without a rebuy. If you do not have enough money to rebuy your ship that you have just bought, do not fly it. Because if you blow up and you do not have the money for a rebuy, you'll be starting all over, claiming bankruptcy, and you'll be right back in this starter ship that you are currently in right now. So do not fly without a rebuy. That is rule number 1. Here's your statistics. It shows your ship's shield strength and its ability to deflect or handle different types of damage, whether it be kinetic, thermal, or explosive. Your current balance, along with any money that you have spent on ships, outfitting, fuels, repairs, and stuff like that. Any money made from combat is all going to be listed there. Any crimes that you have committed, all those will be listed there in a monetary value. Smuggling, that is bringing illegal goods into a station without them catching you. Those will be listed there. Trade, that's just legal cargo being brought into the system and sold. That'll be right there. Mining, that is shooting rocks and collecting their materials and then selling them off. It's actually a pretty easy way of making money. Exploration, this is my favorite part in here. It shows you the number of systems that you have visited, the profits that you have made from it, the highest payout for one particular system, how many jumps that you've made, how far you've gone in light years, and then how much time. This is where you show your approximate time played. Now, I've had plenty of time, even though I've reset my save on the Xbox One, it still kept my time played, so I actually have quite a bit of time in here before I jumped over to the PC side of the game. And how much time or distance you've traveled in an SRV. Here's your passenger missions, all the passenger missions that you have taken and completed. And total number ejected, those are the passengers you just got rid of. send them out into space. Crafting, this is for the engineers. This is for Horizons only. Because all the engineers are planet side. These are upgrades to your ships through the engineer section, and I'll touch base more on that later. And then crew, this is for multi-crew ships, which is not a Sidewinder. These are crew that you have hired NPC-wise, and how much they've earned, and how many of them you've hired, fired, or lost. Lost means that your ship blew up with them in it. And then multi-crew, that is player-to-player multi-crew. Permits, these are system and region permits that you have acquired through your through missions, through ranks, stuff like that. And then right back to the reputation. Hollow Me. This is your commander's avatar. This is where you can customize your guy. I, for some reason, have this guy. I guess it's a default type of thing. This is where you can customize your commander to be whatever you want. To make it look like you. You can make it look like a complete freak. It's totally up to you. And I'll get to more of that later. I'll probably touch base on that in a separate video. The other tabs on here, we have modules. These are all the modules that you have currently in your ship. You can turn them on and off at your leisure. I have no idea why everything is on 3. Wow, that's really weird. And you can change the priorities on them if you would like. Say if you want your weapons to be 2, that way if you are running out of energy or power output, then whatever the lowest number is on here, 1 being the highest, 3 or 4 being the lowest, they will be shut down to power the other things that you have as priority 1. And that's how priorities work. I usually have my weapons at 2, and then any other sort of random things like the planetary vehicle hangars, cargo hatch, I'll change to 3. Because you only need those in certain situations. And in order to use your planetary hangar, your SRV, your thrusters are going to be off anyway, which is your biggest consumer of your power. Here's your fire groups. This is how you control your weapons. 1 being your right trigger, or your right be R2 or R2 on both controllers. That's how you fire those. And then 2 will be your left trigger. Data link scanner doesn't really need 1. Here is your inventory, your ship's cargo, any cargo that you happen to have, any materials you have. Data. Materials and data are used for engineers. Synthesis, this is stuff that you have on board that you can do, like reload your ammunition, do FSD boosts. This is where I was talking about with jump boosts. You can restock your SRV, restock your ammo, stuff like that. And then that's where your passenger cabins are, if you have any. And then here's our different functions. Turn on wing beacons if you have friends that you want to meet up with. Turn that on. Silent running. This turns off your shields and basically makes your ship unselectable or untargeted. You can't be targeted by NPCs or other players. Your shield turns off. Your ship is very quiet, but at the same time, you will be gaining heat extensively. It shuts off all your heat vents and stuff like that, so you'll be building up heat, so you can actually take heat damage if you have this on for too long. Here's your external lights. Turn those on and off. Flight assist on or off. Rotational correction. Usually have that off. I think I usually have that off. If you have turrets, then that's how you adjust those from forward fire, target only, or fire at will. Pre-flight checks, we're going to turn those on. Report crimes against me. This is where if you get fired upon, then the person that fired on you, whether it be an NPC or a player, will gain a fine for doing so. If you are hanging out with friends and practicing and whatnot, you might want to turn that off. Otherwise, local authorities might show up. And then orbit lines, I'll show you that once we get up there. You can change the interface brightness. That's your HUD. You can turn the clock on or off. This is mostly for content creators who are recording for videos and whatnot, telling stories, and they don't want the time to screw up with shots and whatnot, so you can turn that off. Gun sight mode, trailing or leading. This is for fixed weapons. Sensor scale type, I usually don't do that. Reboot and repair. If you are damaged or systems are not working and you have no way of repairing yourself, this is a good way of doing a small repair to your ship to get systems back up and running. It shuts your ship off and then reboots it. And then hide location from your profile. This will prevent your friends from seeing where you are for whatever reason. All right, so we have, and then on the functions right here, it also on the left-hand side shows your jump range. The number on the left, the 5.99 light years, that is with a full fuel tank. And then the one in the parentheses is if you had almost nothing in your fuel tank, that is the maximum amount of light years that you can possibly go. Along with your ship name, type of ship, and then your ship ID, which is the first 2 letters of your gamer tag or PlayStation name, along with some random numbers and letters after it. All right. Top left, this is your communications panel. This is where you talk to people locally. This is where you'll see a lot of chat from NPCs, like as you see, it says tower, this patrol, inbound for landing. That's NPC talk, just some NPC chatter in the local area. You can also talk to players that you can see on your radar or on your contacts tab. Those will appear up here. This tab is for players that are in your local area, actual players, like human players. Any messages they've sent. This is any notifications that you have received. And then incoming checks. This is just the settings. And that, there's one more panel. Down between your legs, it shows this is you right there and your SRV's status. Pay no attention to the fuel percentage. This has been a bug since Horizons came out. The fuel in my SRV is actually at 100%. The helmsman, that's you. Fighters is any ship-launched fighters that you have. The Sidewinder is incapable of holding a ship-launched fighter because it's the size of a ship-launched fighter. SRV, this is the status of the SRV that you have. And then any crew that you have hired. All of this stuff will actually show up on this screen if you have it. And then the top right there, I can't actually select it, is just various information, warnings, and notifications that you'll see that you have no control over, so there's no reason to select that kind of stuff. All right, so that is your HUD. Let's get into here. Starport services. This will show you some things at the base or starport in which you are currently docked at. Top left, it shows the name, time, the controlling major faction, minor faction, and your balance. The commodities market is made for trade. These are all the items that are sold and bought here. It's quite a lot. And some items that aren't. Like if you've got something that isn't listed there, you can still sell it. It's just not going to show up unless you have it in your hull. Mission board. This is where you pick up missions to do. You can pick up new missions to make some money, make rank. These are the easiest right here. Boom, data deliveries. They're basically just, they don't take up any cargo space. You can just do them. They're basically like data. You're transferring data. These are mining missions down here. These are sourcing. That's where you go to a different system, or some place it doesn't list. You look for what they're asking for, and then you bring it back. That's a smuggling mission. This little star icon to the left of destination, to the right of the mission information, that shows that that's going to be on a planet's surface. Let's see here. On the left-hand side, you see the icons underneath the numbers. Those are missions specific for a major superpower. That's Federation, that's Alliance, and there aren't any Imperial missions here because there isn't any Imperial factions here. But if you are trying to increase your rank or reputation with any of the superpowers, you have to do the missions with these icons on them. Another source mission, more mining missions, alliance, another mining mission. Wartime surface target scanning. These are to where you go to a planetary outpost base that isn't a station. You drive up to your SRV and you scan the little posts. Sometimes these can be illegal to do, sometimes they are not. So keep an eye out for that. These are point-to-point cargo missions. You put in a bunch of cargo into your ship and you take it to another station and then you drop it off. And it's pretty simple. More smuggling missions. These are illegal, and if you get scanned, you can gain a fine or get blown up. Massacre missions. This is where you destroy a particular number of ships within a system or a nearby system, and then that mission is complete once you destroyed all those ships. And that's it. And there's plenty of other missions that you can do as well. It's just not available at this particular station. Passenger lounge. This is where you pick up passenger missions, but you have to have the particular modules in your ship in order to do so. You need like first class, luxury, economy type of passenger cabins, and that's where you pick up those missions once you have those cabins installed on your ship. Contacts. This is where you pay fines, turn in your combat bounties, any sort of combat bonds that you collected in conflict zones, and anything you have that's illegal that you need to sell on the black market, that's where that is sold there. Universal cartographics. This is where you turn in exploration data that you have found by scanning stars and planets with your ship's scanners, and then you turn that in. There is a limit on what you can turn in. It has to be a system that's further than 20 light years away, and then you can turn it in and they'll pay you money for it. And then the crew lounge, this is where you hire a crew, an NPC crew member, to fly ship-launched fighters and stuff like that. This ship does not have the ability to do so, so I cannot do that. There's your Hollow Me. This is your ship's livery. If you have any ship livery that you would like to put on your ship, this is where you do it. Along with outfitting, this is where you outfit things on your ship. Shipyard. These are the ships that are sold at this particular station. They have an Eagle, which is a fast fighter, a Hauler, which is exactly what it sounds like, a slow cargo ship, small cargo ship, an Asp Scout. This is a pretty decent ship. However, its big brother, the Asp Explorer, is a lot better. And much more desired amongst explorers. And the Type 7 transporter. This is a basically just a cargo ship. It is slow. It has very few defenses, and yeah, it's mostly for cargo hauling and trade. The next tab is stored ships. Any ships that you have bought that you have currently sitting at the station, you'll find those here, and you can change ships as long as you are at that station in which it's currently located. You can change ships anytime you want. And ship transfer, this is if you have a ship at a different station and you want it to be at the current station, you pay a fee, and it'll take some time, but they'll bring it over to you to where you're currently at. And then advanced maintenance, this is for doing very specific things like ship integrity. If you're flying through Super Cruise a lot, this will start to diminish. Paint work, stuff like that. Restocking, this is for ammo or fuel limpets or any sort of limpets. These are little robotic things that help collect or deliver things to other players. Fuel store, this is where you want to buy fuel very specifically if you don't want to refuel all the way. See if you're short on cash. And then here in the center is some information from the controlling faction, your status. Galnet, which is the in-game news. It shows you some news about local stuff and power play stuff and any interesting things that are happening in the game. Along with here's some local news stories and stuff like that. And then I'll touch base real quick on outfitting. Let's go to the outfitting screen. This is your ship. It's got 2 guns on it. Hardpoints are your ship's weapons. This one in particular has 2 lasers, pulse lasers on it. Utility mounts, this is where you put chaff, any sort of defensive measures or any sort of scanners on it. There's only 2 on this particular ship. Core internals, these are things that you can't be without. You actually have to have things in these slots. This is your ship's hull, your power plant, your thrusters, your frame shift drive, that's what you jump to supercruise or hyperspace with. Your life support is what keeps you alive in the event that your ship's power is cut out, or if you run out of fuel, or if your canopy is breached. Power distributor, that's the thing where you go from systems, engines, and weapons. Sensors, that's self-explanatory, and there's your fuel tank right there. It's your stock fuel tank. And I'll do more into outfitting in a separate video. Dive more into the specifics and stuff like that. Your optional internals. This is stuff that you can be without. You don't have to fill these slots if you don't want to. But this is where your shield generator is located. On the Horizons one, you'll see the planetary vehicle hangar. You can actually sell that if you do not want an SRV for whatever reason, if you want to use that for cargo. Basic discovery scanner. This is for scanning planets and stars that you are nearby. For exploration data, for turning that in for money. This is a cargo rack. And that's your planetary approach suite. That is for Horizons owners only. Livery, this is where you change the paint jobs on your ship or SRV. I do believe I have one. I do. Maybe? No, I do not. I thought I did. But yeah, decals. There's some of them. Those were purchased. You can change your ship name and your ship ID. If you want to buy nameplates, this is where they will be. Those are like cosmetic DLC. And then on your dashboard, you can put little bobbleheads. Let me see if I have one. I do, the female pilot. Little bobbleheads on your dashboard, and they will bobble as you fly, and they'll actually work with your ship's mechanics. Say if you're rolling, then you'll see the head bobble in that correct direction. And then you can change the colors of your weapons and engines. And then down here is any stored modules. Any of the modules that you have here and these, if you want to save them. Say if you have a... say if you want to turn this right here into a cargo rack, but you don't want to lose this particular planetary vehicle hangar, then you can store it and buy a cargo rack to replace it, and then when you can swap back out at a later time. But I'll dive more into that in a separate video. All right, so you have the basics down of what your ship looks like. Oh, one thing I forgot to tell you. To look at the different panels on your ship, you hold down X and look left or right on the D-pad. Left, right, up, or down. And then you hit B to back out. Or on the PlayStation 4, it'll be square and left or right on the D-pad. Left, right, up, or down. And then circle to cancel. If you are ever confused on what buttons do, the buttons on the far right, Y, B, A, and X, or on the PlayStation 4, triangle, circle, X, and square. If you're ever confused on what the combination of buttons do, just hold down that button and you'll get some options there. Cycle previous fire group of the shoulder buttons on the Xbox One. And then, like I said, looking around, let me hold B or circle on the Xbox or on the PlayStation 4. You can operate your fuel scoop, landing gear, ship lights, and camera suite and stuff like that. There are nothing for the shoulder buttons. And then Y, jump into Super Cruise, Galaxy Map, System Map, Silent Running, stuff like that. And then here is X or A on the Xbox One. Those are your options there. If you hold them down, it's based on button combinations. And then, of course, those buttons, each of them, if you only tap them, they have their own functions as well. So you're here, now what? Well, for brand new commanders, there's supposed to be a message up here from the starting station that gives you a mission for like 10,000 credits, but for some strange reason, I don't have such options. So, and I have no missions to do. Oh, wait. Salvage. Oh, here we go. Strategic data transfer. I can do that. Let's go ahead and accept that mission. And there's one here that's about 31 light years away. That one's going to be pretty tough. But we can go ahead and accept that. Since this ship isn't exactly outfitted for combat, I'm not going to take any of those. But basically, you're going to be starting off with a mission up here. And it's going to tell you to take cargo or data or whatever to a particular system. Now, if you want to check those missions, like I said, it's on the Transactions tab here. There's the two missions I just selected. If I select them, it'll give me the information on them. Whether or not I want to abandon that mission or open up the galaxy map, and it'll show me exactly what system I need to go to complete that mission. And then on the far right, it shows you how long you have to complete that mission. If you do not do it within a set amount of time, the mission is failed. So don't forget that kind of stuff. This first mission, which one? This one. This one's the one that's close. So we're going to open up the galaxy map and see if we can find the location in which this mission is going to. There it is. It's one jump. Looks like one jump away? 2 jumps away. This system we have information for. That's this thing right here. Go to the system map for that particular system. And then you'll see this orange icon right here. That is the station that I need to go to in order to turn this mission in. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot the route, and the route is going to send me to this exact station. It's not going to send me anywhere else but to this station. There on the right, it says how far away from the arrival point that station is. It's about 1,000 light seconds. It's not very far. And we're going to be going there. So, oh, see that orange line right here? The 2 orange lines? That's your route. When it's a solid line, that means you can get there on a full tank of fuel. If it's a dotted line, that means that at some point you need to refuel, otherwise you're not going to make it. The blue lines is everywhere you can go on a full tank of fuel before running out. That's based on your jump range. So we have our missions. We have our route plotted there on the left-hand side. It says our destination. And there's 2 jumps to Butis. The destination is the next system, and then there's going to be 1 more jump after that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go return to the surface. This will bring us up to the surface of the planet. Right now we are currently underground. Because down here there's oxygen, but once you go past those blue lines, there's no more oxygen. We are now in the vacuum of space. So, how to depart a station. The immediate functions here are pretty much the same for both starports and planetary. You're going to lift off and then retract your landing gear. So let's go ahead and launch. Oh, we're going to do our pre-flight checks. Pitch up and down is left stick. And those are. Roll left and right. I'm doing this all with the left stick. Toggle flight controls with left stick. There we go. That is that where you're able to fine tune. It's mostly for landing. Alternate flight controls is mostly for landing. Throttle up is right bumper. And then throttle down is left bumper. Landing gear test. For mine, my landing gear is B plus down. but for other things that you can actually change your controls if you wish to. We're going to deploy test. I do not recommend deploying your weapons actually near to a starport, or they'll start to shoot at you. Go ahead and target, and then test the primary fire, and there we are. All right, there we go. So what I did was I pushed down the left stick. Actually, you don't have to do that. Just push up on the right stick. And that makes you go up. So let's go ahead and retract our landing gear. So our landing gear is good. I'm putting a little bit more pips into my systems and engines because at this point I'm not needing my weapons. And I'm going to throttle up. Now, the only difference between Horizons and non-Horizons players is that Horizons players are going to start on a planet, whereas non-Horizons players are going to start at the starport, and you're just going to fly out of the starport without running into anything. For planetary folks, we have a different route that we have to go, and that is to go straight up. If we want to go to Super Cruise, we have to go straight up to an escape vector of 90 degrees. However, with this system, we don't have to because there's the jump. Now, we can jump straight to that system from here, but I want to show you what Super Cruise looks like and how to jump to Super Cruise from a planetary surface. And as you see on the right-hand side, the mass lock has been disengaged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Y and hit up to jump to Super Cruise. And you see the escape vector there.
4, 3, 2, 1,
And we are now in Super Cruise. This is a faster than light travel within a system. And as you see, my there on my HUD, my altitude is rising. I'm at 25 kilometers and going. Still mass locked now because it remass locks you until you get above a certain height. And I'm still going up. As soon as I hit the OC line, orbital cruise line, there on the above my current altitude, the degrees HUD will disappear. There's my radar down on the bottom center. Shows the stars and planets in the local area. The square there is an NPC ship. Players will be a hollow square. Alright, and to the left of that is a compass. You see the little circle there with the little white dot in the middle? That shows you where your target is for the next jump or to your station or whatnot. If you're lined up with it, it'll be a solid dot. If you are not lined up with it, it'll be a hollow dot. So let's go ahead and point back to it. And then for this, we can simply hit Y, or on the PlayStation triangle. And now we are going to jump to the next system to turn, well, eventually to turn in these missions, or the one mission that we have. Okay, before we jump, bottom right-hand corner, see the fuel? You see that blue chunk of the fuel? That's how much fuel is going to be used in order to do this jump. And as you can see, the thin white line, or the thin orange line above it, is slowly depleting. That is your Super Cruise fuel. It's going to slowly deplete as you fly in Super Cruise. So let's go ahead and charge up the frame shift drive by hitting Y or triangle for the PlayStation. And we're going to jump to hyperspace. It is highly recommended that you throttle down when the countdown hits. Let's go ahead and hold left bumper, or L1 on the PlayStation controller. And the reason for that is once you arrive in the next system, your ship won't be moving. It'll be stationary. If you remain throttled up, your ship will go forward and then crash into the star. So let's go ahead and throttle up. Try to avoid the star and get ourselves lined up with the next system. I've got it lined up with my compass. My FSD took a little bit to recharge. And you want to watch top left of your radar is your heat percentage. You want to keep that below 70. Anything higher than 70, you're going to get a warning for increased heat. And then once you hit 100, you're going to start taking damage. Get it far enough away from the star, it'll start to go down. Charging your FSD does build up heat. So keep that in mind. If you're going to try and jump while next to a star, you might actually start taking heat damage. So we're going to tap Y or triangle to boot up the FSD again. It's telling me that this next system has medium security and that I am currently clean and have no bounties against me. And then don't forget to throttle down. This is hyperspace, also known as witch space. It's the space between systems. Here we are, about to arrive. And there we are. You see right there, Chango Dock is a dotted circle. That means it is on the other side of a planetary body or a star. So you just fly around it and get yourself lined up. I throttled all the way up, and I'm going to teach you about the throttle now. Throttling all the way up is the fastest way to travel between points. However, if you don't slow down, then you will overshoot your destination. You see Chango Dock right there in front of us. It says 1,000 light seconds, and then below that is a timer. In order to get to your destination, you want to keep that timer at 7 seconds. So once it starts getting closer to 7 seconds, I'm going to throttle down. If you look to the right of the radar, you'll see the throttle. And then what I'm going to do is we'll do this at 20. Normally I do it at about 10. For the sake of this video, I'm going to do it at 20. I'm going to throttle down and see how it changed blue? You're going to want it to be at the bottom of the blue. That is the optimal speed to arrive at a destination, whether it be a planet, a station, a signal source, or anything like that. You want to be at the bottom of the blue. If you're at the bottom of the blue, you cannot pass up your destination unless you just blatantly fly right by it. An unidentified signal source popped up in front of us. That's if you want to check various different things out, whether it be a distress signal, a degraded signal source submissions. This is where you collect materials and stuff like that. If they say weapons fire detected, then that means there's actually combat going on. So if you're into that, you can head over there. See on the left of the compass, you'll see the little thing. That's actually the station we were flying towards. There's the planet Chango, which is an Earth-like world. There's some conflict zones around it. I'm coming up underneath it, or from the top, depending on what you want to call up and down in space. And then I'm going to line myself up. You can hear the little bit of a rumbling. That means you're caught in the gravity well of the planet. And it slows you down quite a bit. We're going pretty slow, but not too bad. If the timer on your destination goes up a little bit, you can speed up if you would like, but you don't have to. See, it'll eventually start to go back down, and it'll stop at 7. You can disengage your frame shift drive when it gets to 1 megameter. On the left-hand side, you'll see distance and speed. Your distance and speed has to meet those areas. They have to be in the blue. So we're going to get ourselves lined up here. And there we go. Safe to disengage. You hit Y or triangle. And it'll drop us out of Super Cruise. And here we are. Let's go ahead and speed up a little bit. And then once we get to 7.5 kilometers away, we can request docking. Slow down a little bit. Go over to this panel over here, go to contacts, select the dock, and hit request docking. And it gave us a landing pad of 19, and we've got 10 minutes to get there. So let's go ahead and fly towards the opening. You see the station little icon there left of the compass. You see the little arrows. It's showing you where you need to go to find the entrance. There's the entrance, that little blue slot there. It's called the mail slot. And we're going to fly here pretty slowly. If you go through the training modules, it'll explain all of this to you. Everything that I just covered, it'll explain all that stuff to you. There is usually a speed limit around these stations, and that speed limit is 100 meters per second. Let's go ahead and put our landing gear down. That will slow us down and prevent us from boosting. So let's go ahead and see if we can. This will allow us to speed up a bit. There we go. As long as we're below 100, we're good. If we're above 100 and we bump into anybody, we will get a fine. If we're above 100 and we've hit somebody so hard that they blow up, the station will then kill me. So don't want to do that. Maintain your speed limit. Here we are approaching the landing pad. You want to dip down a little bit and slow down. And let's line ourselves up here. All right, so it gives us this little target thing here. Now, this is where your alternate flight controls come in. Because if I were to move my left stick, it's going to yaw left and right. But if I go to alternate flight controls, now I'm remaining straight, but now strafing left and right. Now, on that target, you see the vertical line is blue and everything else is orange. That is because now I'm lined up with the center. Vertically, now I got to get to the very center of the pad. So I'm going to throttle up a little bit. There we go. I am perfectly lined up. Nope. There we go. If you want to back up, just press the left bumper or L1 on the PlayStation controller, and when you're throttled all the way down, it'll put you in reverse. All right, and now I don't need the alternate shift controls anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and put those back. Don't forget to ever do that. And then I'm just going to use the right stick to go down, and there we are. We are landed. And what we're going to do here is we're going to our Starport services. This is where we can refuel. We can do any repairs that are necessary or restock our weapons if we used any of our weapons up. We're going to go to the mission board. And there's our mission that we need to turn in. Go ahead and claim the reward. This one gave me 10,800 credits. Sometimes they can give you materials for engineers, and it can also give you cargo. So be careful with that and make sure you have enough cargo space. And if they do give you cargo, then you can try and sell it for more money. Or you can keep it if you want to keep it for whatever reason. And that is it. You've now completed a mission. You've jumped to 2 different systems. You've completed a mission, and you've got yourself a little bit of money. So yeah, that's basically the basics of Elite Dangerous, the simplest of terms. In future videos, we will get more into exploration, combat, trading, mining, and more advanced stuff like that. Landing on a planet, approaching a planet, driving on a planet with the SRV, all that other stuff in future videos. But this will at least get you going and started in Elite Dangerous. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy this. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to rate and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.